and the Beanstalk, and Other Very Tall Tales. Before we begin this book, we're going to practice using the suffix ing. Ing means it is happening now. Lick. So I'm going to add ing to it. Watch the meaning change. She is licking her ice cream, which means she's doing it right now. Let's practice a few more words. Play. Shaq can play outside. When I add ing to it, the meaning changes. I am playing outside, so I'm doing it right now. Grow. The lima beans can grow. Ring-a-ling-a-ling, add the ing to it, the meaning changes. The lima beans are growing, which means it's doing it now. Climb. Shaq can climb the beanstalk. Ring-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, I added my ing to it. Now it changes the meaning. Shaq is climbing the beanstalk. Zoom. I can zoom by my friends in a race. I add ing, it changes the meaning. Shaq is zooming past the giant. He's doing it now. The rule changes just a little bit. When adding ing to a word that ends with an e, the e runs away. So the e runs away. So for instance, stare. I drop the e and I add ing. He is staring at the ice cream. Become. The giant may become angry. Uh-oh, I see that e at the end of the word. So before I add ing, I have to get rid of the e. Becoming. The giant is becoming angry. Take. Shaq can take the golden basketballs. Uh-oh, I see that e at the end of the word, so I have to get rid of it. Taking. Shaq is taking the golden basketballs. Fun learning about ing. Now it's time for our story, Shaq and the Beanstalk and Other Very Tall Tales. It seems like everybody has heard the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. It used to be one of my favorites, but that was before I met a real giant. Believe it! He was one huge, scary-looking dude. Anyway, now I have my own Beanstalk story. I call it Shaq and the Beanstalk. And it goes like this. When I was a little guy, just 7 or 8 years old, I was a big-time fussy eater. Sure, I liked candy and pizza and pancakes and hot dogs well enough. But when it came to vegetables, I'd just as soon eat one of my smelly old basketball socks. I wouldn't eat broccoli. I sneered at cauliflower. I held my nose when spinach appeared on my plate. But one day, everything changed. Right then and there, I guess you could say I became a world champion vegetable eater. Here's what happened. One night at dinner, I was playing with my lima beans, wishing they would disappear. Problem was, we had a rule in my house. No dessert unless you finish your dinner. That meant all my dinner, even if it included yucky green lima beans. To make things worse, we were going to have one of my all-time favorite desserts, my great-grandmother's homemade pound cake. What did I do? You guessed it. When my parents weren't looking, I tossed those lima beans right out the window. They landed in the garden. I sat down to a plate of the best pound cake in the world, all the while thinking that I was pretty smart. But let me tell you, those lima beans really got me flattened like a pancake. Believe it. When I woke up in the morning, I looked out the window and saw a giant big plant growing high into the clouds. It was in the exact same spot where I tossed the lima beans. Now, the day before, I banged my head in a pickup basketball game. So at first I thought that my mind was playing tricks on me. After all, who ever heard of a giant lima bean plant? I got out the bed, ate breakfast, and forgot all about that crazy stalk outside the window. But when I ran outside to play, there it was again. The thing is, it was a Saturday, so there wasn't any school. I looked at the lima bean stalk and figured, okay, what the heck? In no time at all, I was climbing higher and higher, past the tallest building, past a gaggle of geese, flying in a perfect V. I was so high that I had started getting dizzy. But I kept right on climbing because I like to finish things once I start them. Just like with basketball, I play hard till the final buzzer. I finally got to the top. It was pretty strange. I tell you what, I was in another world where everything looked like the pictures in a storybook. No trash, no ugly billboards, no noisy cars. In the distance, I saw a glistening castle built on the clouds. Now that's something you just don't see every day. I figured I'd check it out. And to tell you the honest truth, all that climbing made me hungry. I was hoping to catch a snack. I walked and walked until I came to a humongous wooden door. I couldn't even reach the doorknob, so bangity bang, I knocked. In a minute, a deep voice as loud as thunder boomed.
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the socks of a little man. Be he clean or be he smelly, I'll soon have him in my belly.
The door swung open, and there before me stood the biggest man I'd ever seen. I tell you, if this guy had skills, he would have done well in the NBA. Anyway, the giant stomped his foot and yelled, "Not another one of you pesky little people. I'll eat you up." Now, I've done some dumb things in my life, but I wasn't about to wait to see what happened next. So quick as a flash, I tied the laces of his shoes together. Then I raced between his legs into the castle. Well, again, the giant tried to take a step, and whoosh! He tripped and fell with a thunderous thud. After a minute, his face turned red, then purple, then blue. He was plenty mad. The giant fumbled to untie his laces. I'm not sure what he did next because I was too busy zooming off into the next room. Let me tell you, he had me running all over that castle. Up the stairs, down the stairs, into the kitchen, out of the kitchen. Man, I felt like I was running a fast break with the Lakers. When I ran into one room, I saw the weirdest thing. It was a hen sitting in a nest. Underneath her was a pile of golden basketballs. That's right, you heard me. Golden basketballs. Yep, this was no ordinary hen. I snatched up a basketball and I took aim. Let me stop and say one thing right here. I have always believed that fighting is a loser's way out. You get nowhere when you use violence. It's always better to talk your problems out. But that giant didn't seem to be in the mood for a conversation. I had to fight. So whap! I hurled the golden basketball right between the big fella's eyes. Lights out. The giant went down for the count. After that, the hen got sort of nervous. She started flapping her wings like crazy, then she raced out the front door. Oh well, I had other things to worry about. Maybe another guy might have crept away with some of the giant's gold, but that's not my style. I don't take things that don't belong to me, even if they are solid gold basketballs. Instead, I found some rope and tied that giant until he couldn't move. The giant's eyes slowly opened. He looked at me and boomed in a loud voice,
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I say, if you're peanut butter or if you're jelly, I'll soon have you in my belly.
Of course I laughed because, hey, this particular giant was all tied up with no place to go. Don't be ridiculous, I said. I'd give you a stomach ache. The giant tried his best to escape, but I tied the knots good and tight, just like my dad Sarge taught me to. Finally, the giant gave up. Soon we got to talking. It seems this giant, his name was George, never had any visitors. That's because he hated little people. Little people like me. Here's the thing. The giant's great uncle Max once ran into some trouble with a little fella. You probably know this rascal's name. That's right. It was Jack himself. If you remember the story, Jack climbed up the beanstalk and did some horrible things to that giant. Think about it. Jack stole the giant's golden coins. He stole the hen that lays golden eggs. He took the giant's prize magic harp. And then Jack chopped down the beanstalk right when the giant was climbing down it. Ever since, all the giants far and wide have kept their doors locked. No visitors allowed. I told George that all little people weren't like Jack. Look at me, I said. I'm a nice guy, and I'll prove it. I'll even untie you. So I did. But when George stood up, he was dizzy. He rubbed his head right where I nailed him with the golden basketball. Just then George saw the empty nest.
Here, chick, chick, chick,
He called out.
here, my little chickie.
Are you looking for that hen? I asked. George nodded. Well, she ran out the front door fast as lightning. George's face turned 3 shades of red.
That was my prize hen,
He screamed.
You made her run away.
I gulped. I was thinking that maybe I shouldn't have untied George after all. He said,
Now George is mad. George likes to stump when he's mad. My Uncle Max was right, he added. You little people are nothing but trouble.
Things weren't looking so good for me. George was one angry giant. So I said, Listen, big fella, I'll prove to you that not all little people are trouble. I'll find your hen. It was a deal. If I found the hen that lays the golden basketballs, George wouldn't stump me. Then he added one more thing. He said, I was supposed to deliver some cookies to my dear sweet old granny. But now I can't, so you'll have to. Sure, I wasn't crazy about becoming the Giant's delivery boy, but it sure beat getting stumped like a grape. Plus, it sounded easy enough. All I had to do was deliver a basket of cookies to his grandmother. Then I'd go and find that hen. How hard could that be? As I left for my journey, I turned and called to the big fella. I'll be back with that hen, George, I promise, right after I deliver the gift basket to your dear sweet old granny. As it turned out, my simple errand turned out to be quite an adventure. Read on, and you'll see what I mean. Little Red Riding Shaq. Please stay tuned because your next Shaq in the Beanstalk Tall Tales will be coming up shortly. Subscribe to my channel so you can keep updated.